Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.
Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Jean Till, and today we are on the road at the National Eucharistic Congress, visiting with Bishop Joseph Espaillat of the Archdiocese of New York and one of the speakers here at the conference in Indianapolis.
So privileged that Bishop Espaillat could make time for us. He is a man in demand, as he's got a profile in his ministry for the youth on a national level, but indulging a brother bishop as well. And we're rolling through this conference as the cyclists of Iowa have been rolling through this week and stopping at 4 towns in our diocese this week, starting in Glenwood, rolling through Red Oak, Atlantic, Winterset, and Indianola.
Yes.
So before heading on to the Diocese of Davenport, finishing in Burlington. So we hope the riders have been safe.
Your prayers have been answered because they don't have 100-degree temperatures.
Amen. Beautiful. So, that maybe doesn't help the vendors as much. But so looking forward this weekend also tomorrow to installing Father Nick Stark formally as pastor of St. Elizabeth Seton in Carlisle, a great young priest. And I think it's been a happy marriage between him and that parish. And then in the afternoon, celebrating Golden Jubilees for 2 beloved priests of our diocese, just joining them in their party, Monsignor Steve Orr and Father John Ludwig. We know various ministries, Father Ludwig, among different places, St. Catherine's and St. John in Norwalk. Monsignor Orr, obviously many roles of the diocese in the papal visit in 1979, but also then St. Francis of Assisi and Our Lady's Immaculate Heart, where the celebration will take place tomorrow. So congratulations to them and their families and all that they're about. So that'll be quite a party, I think, that we have.
And they both were charged with building a new church.
Indeed.
St. Francis and then St. John the Apostle, and it's like no small undertaking.
No. And very different styles among those churches, reflecting maybe a little bit of the personalities of the 2 priests as well. But so pleased to have you, Bishop Espaillat. And just for our listeners, your father's here in the wings with us, Jose, and that's right. Pleasant. And your mother, Mercedes, also taking part in the Eucharistic Congress. So it's nice to have that on your spiritual family from your diocese and your own blood family as well. So we call it Making It Personal. Your family, was it a surprise to you and this whole inclination toward priesthood or the Eucharist? I mean, that's something that's various people are giving witness to, and we'd love to hear part of that for you.
Sure. Thank you again, Bishop Joensen. Thank you for welcoming me to your show, Making It Personal. I'm a lifer, so I entered when I was 13 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm womb to tomb. I'm one of the last of the Mohicans.
The Lord needed to grab you early, right?
Yes. And actually, I do credit my father for my vocation because when I was 13 years old, I was looking at high schools. I went to public school up until that time.
Okay,
and then,
you had that in common then.
Yeah,
okay.
And so when it came to hie school, he said, I think maybe you should consider a private school. So I was like, okay. And he made me take all the tests in the world. And I did. And I applied to a couple of high schools. But the one high school that caught my attention was only 10 blocks away from where I lived.
Perfect.
Which was
in the city, in Manhattan.
Yes, in Manhattan. So we lived at that time on 73rd Street at the Ansonia Hotel, the famous Ansonia Hotel. Babe Ruth, Enrico Caruso lived there because my father, he ran buildings. He was a resident manager.
Okay.
So not even 10 blocks away on 87th Street was Cathedral Preparatory Seminary. And it was just convenient. And he was like, well, you know what? Maybe you should look into this high school. And he was reading the Catholic New York, and he was reading the newspaper. And he goes, I think this is a pretty cool school. So it was one of the 3 options. I put it down. I went and I visited all of them. And the truth of the matter is, when I went to visit it with my mother, like St. John Paul II's book, Crossing the Threshold of Hope.
I love that book.
Yes.
And taught it very well for many years with my students. So
yes. So I crossed the threshold of the high school. And when I crossed, basically I saw this picture of Our Lady, Vobis in Matrem, that Leo gave to the seminary. Unto you I give a mother. And I looked at the picture, and that was it. I said, this is where I'm coming. I'm coming to high school here.
Well, we've got more coming.
Okay.
So.
That's just whetting our listeners' appetites.
So
all right. Stay tuned.
That's right. We'll be continuing our conversation with Bishop Joseph Espaillat of the Archdiocese of New York and one of the speakers here at the National Eucharistic Congress in Indianapolis. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from independent realtor Chris Foster. Chris has served clients with everything real estate throughout Iowa since 2019. 641-891-8178 or online at the number 4 saleia.com.
Iowa Catholic Radio would like to thank our business partner, Gold Dome Buildings. Gold Dome is locally owned and operated, serving Des Moines and surrounding areas since 1992. Builders of garages, farm buildings, customized backyard sheds, and playhouses. GoldDomeIowa.com.
At Intervisions Healthcare, we see patients with unplanned pregnancies from ages 12 to 43. An unplanned pregnancy is traumatic at any age. For that reason, we specialize in educating, encouraging, and empowering vulnerable and at-risk mothers facing an unexpected pregnancy with the medical information and services necessary for them to make an informed decision. For more information on the free medical services at Intervisions Healthcare or to support our mission or become a volunteer, visit ivhcare.org.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. And on today's show, we're visiting with Bishop Joseph Espaillat of the Archdiocese of New York and one of the speakers here at the National Eucharistic Congress in Indianapolis.
So we've carried you to the cathedral school, but from there, just the Lord speaking to your heart and kind of really claiming you that the vocation of the priesthood was really what God was asking of you or proposing to you.
Yes. Yeah, I was interviewed, and the interview process, they said, would you consider becoming a priest? Not that you have to, but would you consider it? And I didn't really understand what that was at 13, and I was like, sure, why not?
I mean, you went to Mass.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was an altar server.
Okay.
I would go to Mass. And at that point, I had that hunger for daily Mass.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what happened. And the rest is history.
And your family was supportive, even your siblings. And you have how many siblings?
I have one younger sister.
Okay.
So, yes, she's 8 years younger than me.
And you said she's a JAG in the military.
She is a JAG lawyer,
Yeah. So she holds you accountable.
Serving our country.
Yeah, beautiful. As your dad did. We're grateful for their service very much. So, beautiful. So, ordained in 2003, you're a priest, so 21 years. Congratulations on that. Now, I have to note, as we're at the Eucharistic Congress, that you were actually born after the International Eucharistic Congress in Philadelphia in 1976.
That's right.
Is that right? So you have no recollection of that. Not trying to be condescending or anything, because you must be one of the youngest bishops in the United States.
Yes, I am still. I'm still the youngest bishop in the U.S. And it's interesting because that's what I mentioned this morning on another interview. I said what's fascinating to me is that I have never experienced something like this. So this is definitely something very beautiful and something that I actually was longing for, because I said, man, I haven't seen something like this. We've done other, the family Congress and all of this, but a Eucharistic Congress, this is first in my life. And
not that I experienced it, but just knew that in Philadelphia something special was going on.
Correct.
At the time. I was only 16 years old.
Correct.
My heart and thoughts were set on other things at that time.
Yes.
But God is patient and relentless at the same time.
83 years, right, since the last one.
Since the last national.
So imagine that, 83 years, that's 3 generations.
Yeah.
So this is beautiful what's happening out here, right?
Yeah, and our country hungry and thirsty, I think, in so many ways. Not everyone knows that hunger or thirst that they actually have, that God has instilled in them. But I think that hopefully is being sparked. And you've probably already had encounters with people. And I met a fellow today. It wasn't in the confessional setting at all, but he just said, "Oh, Bishop, this is healing my heart." Just seeing the joy and seeing the church, because sometimes the bump and grind, even of being within the church, takes its toll on people. And I think to see this awakening and just the Spirit is flowing in so many beautiful ways. Yeah. But the Spirit flows through you, Bishop Espaillat, in such unique and marvelous ways. My first encounter with you, besides a personal handshake maybe, when we were both at the Taylors at the Bishop's meeting, was witnessing you leading Eucharistic Adoration at the National Catholic Youth Conference right here in Indianapolis. Minneapolis. So was that a unique way for you? But I just thought both the reverence you have, but the way of just engaging the young people. You were catechizing them about adoration. Is this kind of a signature of your priesthood and your ministerial style?
I would say it is, in the sense that we need to teach young people how to pray, right? We just assume that they know how to pray, especially when they come to Mass. I think, it's become, unfortunately, quite routine, stand up, sit down, kneel, stand up, sit down, kneel. And we assume they know, but they don't. And it becomes like, well, this is boring. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But what it is I kind of MC people through it. That's where the rap comes in, right? A good MC, he kind of leads everything, right? And as priests, bishops, especially, we're called to teach. So I do have a charismatic bent. There's no doubt about that. However, I just believe it's, just guiding them through, leading that meditation, leading that prayer time with them. And it wasn't taught to me, if you will. It's just come through the years of experience praying, especially with young people. They want more. They long for more. They long for that intimacy, that relationship. And so, you put yourself out there. You got to be vulnerable, but it's beautiful, because when you see it unfold, it's just beautiful.
And so people kind of warm to you. They let their young people, they let their guard down, and they begin to share, but they're attracted to something here because your passion in all of this as well is something marvelous. So, did the rapping just occur, just as on the side? I mean, you're a lover of music, or you didn't do that intentionally. Oh, this is how I'm going to evangelize.
Not at all.
Okay.
No, not at all. That the way that happened. I do love music, all genres. I may not want to say this on the radio, but I don't appreciate country music that much.
All right, sorry,
Iowa.
Spirit Catholic Radio listeners, especially Nebraska.
Yeah, I know Nebraska. It's like, we're turning them off, No, I do love music. I really do. I love all types, and I was classically trained, so I sang opera for 4 years. As well.
just keep unfolding dimensions here.
Now he has to come to Iowa because we have a world-renowned opera company just south of Des Moines.
Oh, look at that.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not the Met, but it draws a lot of good people.
I love all music.
Yeah. It's in the top 3 of the world.
It is.
That's it.
It's not Glimmer Glass either. But anyway, there you go.
But it was basically a funny, quick story. It was a talent show at my first parish. And so my kids wanted to do rap songs, but they had bad lyrics. And I said, absolutely not. I said, let's do it with clean lyrics. They said, it's not going to work. It'll stink. I said, I bet you I could do it. So it was a challenge. And so basically I told some of my kids, let's do this rap thing together. And it flew, and we won. We won the competition.
Bonus,
bonus, right? So that's how it all.
So for them, it was the ingredient to the rap music that there be kind of these salacious lyrics once in a while, and things that were, not going to necessarily magnify the Lord or even just the human condition.
Right, and I said, absolutely not. We're not going to do that. If we're going to do it, it's going to be glorifying God. And they said, oh, well, it's like going to, in New York terms, they was like, that's going to be whack, So I was like, no, I said it can be done tastefully. And that's how it took off,
Do you have production CDs or?
I do have an album.
Okay.
We were
cool.
Okay. We'll have to put that on the website here. When we post the website, give you a little plug here. All right. Yeah. Oh, good. So the parish ministry, you have a special role as being kind of oversight of youth ministry, spiritual director, I believe, for the Archdiocese of New York and youth ministry. What does that involve for you? Because it's striking to me that the auxiliaries of New York, most of them are all pastors at the same time. That's a lot on your shoulders.
It is a lot. 4 out of the 5 of us are still pastors. Yeah. It is a lot, but, this is what's needed at the moment, right? I mean, we're expecting an asking a lot from our priests. So, I was always taught you lead by example. So, you can't complain when you have 2 or 3 parishes. It's like, well, we're bishops and we're still running parishes. Mm-hmm. But the youth ministry component is something that just a passion of mine. It really is. I always tell people 3 things I'm passionate about: God, food, and young people. In that order, by the way. Yes, in that order. And with food is drink,
Well, the clergy, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but I just have this great passion, for the youth. I think, a lot of people have just turned their backs on them, and they're scared, and they're anxious, and they're nervous, and they're depressed. And we have to respond to that, right? Jesus went to those who were on the margins, on the peripheries, and our young people are so hungering, are so looking for the Lord, and to be able to respond to that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You're a priest 21 years, and have you seen maybe some of the challenges of young people facing? I can think of Jonathan Haidt, who's at New York University's book, The Anxious Generation.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal. And you think he's onto something there, describing what you encountered.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was going to quote him. I'm glad you did. Okay. Because I have the book right on my desk, and I already perused through most of it. And
it's nice because he gives little chapter summaries too.
Yeah, exactly. And the crazy part about Dr. Jonathan Haidt is that he's not even Catholic.
He's an atheist.
And yet he has a chapter dedicated to God. It's like there's a hole in the heart, right? And so this anxiety that we have created as adults, we have to rectify that. And I think, again, us, especially with cell phone usage today, I mean, it's so good, but yet it's detrimental, right? And that's the premise that he proposes, right? Mm-hmm. That we shouldn't be giving cell phones to our kids so young. How do you convince parents of that? And again,
the anxious parents who want to be able to contact their kids at any hour of the day,
yes,
and know where they are,
and there's something that's not healthy about that, right? He proposes, right, for age 14, you shouldn't have cell phones. Mm-hmm. Right? Age 16, you shouldn't be on social media. Mm-hmm. Public schools and private schools alike should take the phones away from the kids. I mean, the great example, he was on the Joe Rogan show the other day, right? And he was like, he was saying that, imagine us saying, hey, you know what, let me bring my record player to class, mm-hmm. or let me bring my iPod, my iPod at the time, right? Or my Walkman, my CD player. Impossible. You couldn't do that. But the fact that we're allowing them to bring it into the classrooms, it's bad. And then the last point, right? The fourth point is he finally says that let them go out into the playground and just play and fight and actually get through controversy by themselves without mommy and daddy, necessarily overprotecting them.
I mean, I don't know if you and your sister ever got in these kind of fights, but the free reign of the neighborhood. Yes. But he counsels, especially for boys, a little rough and tumble, a little mixing it up. Maybe somebody's going to get hurt. Yes, I broke my brother David's arm once sledding, but there you go.
David, he admitted it.
Yeah. Right? But that's part of it. But I'd be interested in your insights on this but that's where we can maybe have the first place of encounter is through the technology, through the social media, right? As a church or not. But then we want to kind of be more temperate in that. We want to call them to a certain self-discipline in that. So do you have thoughts on that realm?
Absolutely. Like for example, I'll speak it to my church and my youth group. Like, we take the cell phones away. So the kids walk in off the streets and they have cubby holes, just like school. This is what we do in New York. I don't know what you guys do, in your diocese.
There's different things.
But, different, right, exactly. But what we do is we take cell phones away. And actually some of the people in my office, youth ministry, were like, well, why are you doing that? You can't do that. And I said, well, why not? They do it in the schools. I said, no, you know, this is a problem. And the funny thing is they willingly give it up. The kids willingly give it up. And sometimes we even find out that they have 2 and 3 cell phones. I'm not joking. Parents don't even know. They have 2 and 3 cell phones. And I live in New York City, in the Bronx, you know, and they also give in, you know, brass knuckles, switchblades, you know, pepper spray. This is the reality that I live in. But then
it's a defensive posture?
Yes,
to
it
survive?
is.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. And it's amazing how we can create as church a safe space. And they feel safe. When the kids can willingly give it up and say, I feel good here. I don't feel threatened. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. We have just a few more seconds before the break,
sure.
but that safety on a physical level, but then that safety where they can be vulnerable and share and begin to trust.
Yes.
What are those anxieties? What are their unmet desires? Where are they feeling down on themselves?
And then pray through it. Help engage them so that they can know their Creator, right? Know their Lord, and for them to know not only who they are, but who they are.
Beautiful. So the Eucharist, a part of that, obviously. Is
Absolutely.
That the first moment of encounter, or is there another way that first kind of contact with this is Jesus, he's there for you? Is it the Word? Is it through each other, or you yourself?
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
And maybe we're going to have to pause there.
All right,
there's another teaser.
We'll come back to that. All right.
Stay with us as we continue our conversation with Bishop Joseph Espaillat of the Archdiocese of New York and one of the speakers here at the National and Eucharistic Congress in Indianapolis. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Mercy College of Health Sciences, where you can chart your course for more.
Mercy College provides unparalleled clinical rotations, hands-on learning, accelerated education, and flexible schedules. Since 1899, Mercy College has been transforming students into healthcare professionals. Guided by Catholic values, our faculty put classroom theory into practice. Students are prepared for roles in service and leadership throughout their own careers.
Learn more at mchs.edu. Mercy College of Health Sciences, mchs.edu.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
Thank you, Jean, and thank you, Bishop Espaillat, for staying with us. We left our listeners with a question about the moments of encounter, and that's even something in our diocese, cultivating connections in Christ through encounter, friendship, and communion. How do you find the best practices in terms of where can that initial encounter be? Or maybe it's a full menu of things.
I think it's a plethora of things. It's not just one and done. Many people can encounter Christ through many different ways. But one of the most important, I really believe, is a retreat experience. And we don't do that well. We're baptized, we're thrown into Holy Communion, and, it's like we grow up going to church, but do we take out that personal time away from the noise that we've been speaking about, away from all of these things to encounter the living God? And how do we encounter? Obviously, you mentioned through His Word. Through the sacraments, through the church, through the priests, through each other. Right? Archbishop Christophe Pierre mentioned that last night, how his mother would tell him when Jesus walks in the room, you stand up. And then he said, do you stand up for others when they walk in the room? Because we've even lost that.
Do I look up from my phone?
Right. Yes. So we need an encounter. That encounter moment is something that we don't do well, I believe. We need to do that better.
Mm-hmm. So in the Diocese of Des Moines, we're finishing a whole season here of the Catholic Youth Camp, St. Thomas More Center in Panora, Iowa, which is one of these vibrant places. It's a jewel for us. So many young people from elementary through high school age. And that, I think, is for them one of these places. And we're fortunate to have a few young priests, Father Reed Flood, Father Alex Kramer, among the great staff who's a part of that. So how do you think the Eucharistic Congress, what would be your hope here? I mean, is it going to be a one and done? Some say,
I hope not.
Have a big extravaganza for everybody who's already the believers, or what would you want to see?
I would love to see the people leave here on fire for the Lord, on fire for the kingdom. And it's something I'm going to mention in one of my talks, is that kingdom talk. We don't do kingdom talk well as Catholics. We do church talk. But Jesus didn't leave us just the church. He was talking about a kingdom. And when we pray, right, thy kingdom come. Not thy church come. Thy kingdom come. And that's what I would love, that we enter into that dialogue with others and have that kingdom talk. And go out there and spread the good news and be on fire for the Lord and say, hey, there's something different about him, or there's something different about her. What happened? Well, I know this guy named Jesus. let me introduce you to him, right? Yeah. That's my prayer. My prayer is that this changes the landscape of our country. That families begin to come together once again. Because right now the family is being decimated. Mm-hmm. Right. And with that's a whole nother conversation we could go into on the next time.
Next time we have you. When we get you out to Iowa, as I propose sometime in the next year or two, we maybe bring you to Christ Our Life in 2 years. But, the many ways, in one of your talks tomorrow, building bridges for our shared mission, connecting parishes, but also families. How much ingredient to you is the charismatic movement? And we're in our last minute here, the home stretch, So
big time. I was baptized in the Spirit 9 years ago, and it changed my life. It rocked my world. Why? Because I encountered the love of the Father like never before. I was a priest already, but that changed my life. It was beautiful, and there's no turning back. Mm-hmm. And I just said, you know what? I entered the priesthood ministering without fear, and this just gave me more oomph to go. Yeah, so let's go.
Well, I don't know if someone ever asked you, what are you on? But you're on the Holy Spirit here, and it's so obvious for anybody who encounters you. And so I think, I've kind of fortunate to be a brother bishop with you, and we wish God's blessings on your ministry going forward. And we'll get you sometime, if only to see the Field of Dreams in Iowa.
Yes, I would love that. I'm a big Field of Dreams. Yeah, it's Iowa. That's right.
Yeah, I don't know if the Yankees will be playing, but we'll see.
All right.
Thank you, Bishop.
Blessings. Thank you all.
This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. Thank you to our guests and to all of our listeners in Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, or wherever you may be listening on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.